Hey everyone, today's lesson is going to be over Schutz systems. And so our learning objective is we're going to describe the systems that perform the functions of transport in plants. So what are Schutz systems? The Schutz system of a plant includes things like the leaves, the stems, and the flowers. So really anything that's above ground. You can see here based on this picture off to the side, the Schutz system is what we have basically from the ground up. So all of that is what we're going to call the Schutz system, and we'll learn about the root system within the next video. So all of these structures here work together to help a plant perform basic functions such as transporting water and nutrients. And so these are two things that are going to be very important: is how do plants transport water and nutrients, and what are those processes, and what are those vascular tissues actually called. So those two things are moved through what we call the xylem and the phloem. So first, the xylem is the water carrying vascular tissue, and it's composed of cells that we call vessel elements and tracheids. So xylem is water. So you'll need to be able to remember that xylem is moving water. Also, you can see here based on this picture, okay, in a xylem, it only moves one direction. It only moves up the plant. Now, why do you think that might be? Well, we know that water only comes in through the roots. And so if the roots are at the bottom of the plant, that means water can only flow upward from there. There's no reason for the water to really rush back down the plant. The other vascular tissue that we have is the phloem. So the phloem is the food carrying tissue. This is what's transporting sugars and organic compounds, or what's really moving all of the nutrients. So this one can actually be a two-way movement, depending upon where the plant needs to be able to move those nutrients. Then we have leaves. So the main purpose of leaves is to carry out photosynthesis. That's the reason why leaves tend to be the greenest part of any plant. There's a number of different parts of the leaf that you will have to know. So first we have the stoma, or sometimes called the stomata, which is plural, which allows for the passage of gases in and out of the leaf. And there are guard cells that surround each of these stoma to regulate the exchange of gases. Sometimes plants don't need to actually be able to perform photosynthesis at certain times of the day. And so these guard cells are going to cause the stomata to actually close so that way they don't lose too much water. Then you have the mesophyll cells, which are the middle cells making up the most of the leaf. This is where most of the photosynthesis takes place. And you'll notice here in this picture that there are actually two different types. You have palisade, which are these really rectangular ones just below the epidermis. And then you also have the spongy ones, which are in the middle. And these are a little bit more different in their shape, and also not quite as compacted as the palisade ones are. And then finally, you have the cuticle. So this is the waxy layer that's on the outside of a leaf in order to protect it from water loss. Since plants are obviously normally outdoors, they can't really be losing all of their water due to the sun, so they have to have something in order to be able to protect their leaves so they don't lose all of that water that they have. So this is actually a diagram that you will need to know. So I recommend at this point making sure that you have this diagram and it all properly labeled in your journal, so that way you can know the different parts of a leaf. And then finally, we have the stem. So the main purpose of the stem is to support a plant's leaves and reproductive structures. So if leaves are where photosynthesis is occurring, well, they need to be able to somehow reach up to the sun. If you are a small plant at the bottom of a forest, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So stems are what enable the leaves in order to be able to reach that the sunlight that they need. Stems also are important for carrying water and nutrients from the soil and roots up to the leaves. So it can go kind of back and forth. We know that the roots are all the way at the bottom. The leaves could be very far up if you have something like a tree that's 100 feet tall or so. So they have to be able to move that water and nutrients back and forth. And stems have those specialized cells that perform the functions of water and nutrient movement as part of the xylem and phloem systems. So that's all that I have for you today, and go explore further.